Hi, my name is Mike, also known as Vapian on the e-cigarette forums, and I'm here today to demonstrate a new method of filling cartomizers. At least it's new to me, and I hope it'll be new to you as well. I came up with it because Bloog had a contest to see if someone could come up with a method for a blind person to easily fill a cartomizer. I thought this idea was pretty good, and I thought I would do a shorter video for people who could see so that they can see just how quick and easy this method is, because the step-by-step description gets kind of long. In any case, what I'm going to do is demonstrate how to build and use what I am calling the Cartomizerfillinator. Yes, I'm calling it that. And if it wasn't a word before, it is now. Let's take a look. What you see before you is a finished Cartomizerfillinator. And this is the tool we're going to build right now. I'll show you how to use it in a few minutes. The first thing you need is a Luer Lock tip syringe. The difference between this and the more common slip tip syringe that you find in other hobby applications is that in addition to having a longer tip which extends from the syringe body, you also have a cylinder material that's threaded on the inside that needles will thread into for various purposes. In this case, we're going to take advantage of that because it's almost exactly the same diameter as most of the cartomizers we're going to want to fill. The first thing you might notice, if you can see it, is that the tip of the syringe sticks out a little bit from the collar that goes around it. So we're going to take a sharp knife, it could be a hobby knife, it could be just any sharp pocket knife, it really doesn't matter, and put it level with the top of the cylinder right up against that tip that sticks out a little bit, and very carefully rotate the syringe to sort of cut into that material so that you can take that tip off and make it completely level with the collar that goes around it. Now technically you really don't have to do this, but I recommend it because what that does is it makes it compatible with more types of mouthpieces. So if you have a bunch of stockpiled cartomizers that have hard caps or flat caps as opposed to some of the newer silicone ones, this will make it made up to that much better. Having done that, we need to prepare the next piece of the puzzle, which is going to be to make a tube that we're going to slip onto this syringe. What I have here is a selection of end caps from cartomizers that have come off 808s and 510s, things like that I had sitting around. Now, an 808 style cartomizer end cap will work, but it's a little bigger in diameter than the inside of a 510 cap. So it's probably going to be more suited to 808 type applications as opposed to being more versatile. So let's set that aside for the moment. Of the 510 variety, there are two types that will really work well for you. One is the longer end cap. This measures about 15/16 of an inch. And because it's longer, there's more material to grip our cartomizer once we build the tool, so you can use that very easily. What I prefer though is one that is about the same length as the 808 end cap, but it's got a thicker wall around it. And that just makes the whole tube a little sturdier, and the inside perhaps even just a little smaller, so it really snugly grips our cartomizer when we're done. Regardless of which end cap you use, you want to take a sharp pair of scissors and as close to the sealed end of that tube as possible, just sort of pinch it together and snip into it. You want to preserve as much length as possible on this end cap so it becomes a longer tube when we're done. Once you snip into that, you can stick a blade of scissors in there, kind of pull on it to get the top as close to the cutting edge of that scissor as possible, and just work your way around. Once you're done, you have a little silicone end cap that you don't need anymore, and now you've got a nice flexible silicone tube. And if you want, you can trim up the end, but that doesn't really matter because what we're going to do is insert this Luer Lock syringe into the tube so that we have this nice flexible collar around the outside. Now you can use this just as it is, manually putting it on, taking it off. However, I recommend using Gorilla Glue Super Glue. This is their Impact Tough formula, so it's a little more flexible than regular super glue. If you take some of that, run just a little bit around the edge. You want it on the far edge of that tube. You only have to put a little bit on there and use some sort of tool, like maybe a paper clip or a toothpick, to run that bead all the way around. Once you're done with that, insert that silicone tube on there. You don't have to take it all the way down, probably 2/3 is good. Give it a little twist so that all the surfaces are nicely mated up. Try to straighten it out, and at that point just let this set for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and you have a fully functional Cartomizerfillinator. Now, one thing you will notice, there are no markings on this syringe. You don't need to measure with this filling method, so they're really not important. It didn't matter to me at all that they weren't on this particular syringe. But Vapian, you might ask, how do I use the Cartomizerfillinator to fill my Cartomizers? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to show you. The Cartomizerfillinator is a useful tool, but it does need a little support. A bottle. This bottle has e-liquid in it, and happens to be a medicine bottle that I had sitting around that probably holds about 60 or 70 mils. Right now it's probably got about 30 mil in there. And the big feature that it has is that it's got a wide mouth that allows inserting a Cartomizer or the end of the syringe into. This does mean dedicating quite a bit of e-liquid to a single bottle, which may or may not be a big problem for you. If you're using smaller bottles, mostly 5-10 mil sample bottles, this may not be such a great idea because there won't be a very deep amount of e-liquid in here. But you might be able to find a smaller diameter bottle that will let you accomplish the same thing. You just want to make sure you leave enough room so that when you insert the Cartomizer in, it doesn't overflow. So I've got my bottle of e-liquid, I've got my Cartomizerfillinator. Let's start filling some Cartomizers. Really, all you have to do is open it up, pick a Cartomizer. In this case, it's a 510 Cartomizer. Stick it into the Cartomizerfillinator, stick the end of the Cartomizer into the bottle, and pull up on the plunger. You'll notice we're drawing juice right through that Cartomizer into the syringe, and we're going to flush it right back out. And when you push it out, you don't want to push too hard, because you can end up pushing the Cartomizer right out of that silicone tube at the end. So count for maybe 5 or 10. It's up to you. Just don't do it too much. One flush will probably entirely fill a Cartomizer. 2 or 3 definitely will. And at that point, all you have to do is pull it off into a paper towel. And if you're filling a bunch of Cartomizers, all you have to do is grab the next one, bring some fluid in, push some fluid out, move on to the next one, and it works just as well with 510s and 808s. Just pull, push, do that a couple of times if you want to. And I'm going a little fast here because I'm drawing some air out of the Cartomizer itself. If you go slower, that usually won't happen. And you'll end up with a nice full syringe with no air in it, which means a nice full Cartomizer. And that's really all there is to it. Simple matter of sticking them in, filling them up, put them on a paper towel, then you can wipe them off, and you're pretty much ready to vape. And that's all there is to it. You've seen the instructions for building your own Cartomizerfillinator. Trademark 2011 Vapian. And you've seen the method. I agree, this method may not be for everyone. You might not keep large amounts of juice around. You might not want to mess around with this kind of fill method. It's definitely not portable. But if you're filling Cartomizers at home, this really is kind of a quick, easy way to do it. And it doesn't make quite as much of a mess if you're careful. So, I thought I'd put it out there, see if anyone liked it. And hey, if you happen to use it, I'm glad to have been of service. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again here on YouTube. Take care.